I'm the Junk Man, and today we're going to replace struts on this car. But first, let's go over the tools you might need. Jack stands, at least one floor jack, a second optional jack, which will be explained later, the appropriate tools to remove the wheel. You'll also need the appropriate size sockets, wrenches, and extensions and ratchet for the bolts you'll be removing. You'll also need an MFH, but not a BFH or an LFH. You'll also need a variety of pry bars and screwdrivers for prying operations. Let's get to it. Now jack up the car, support it with the jack stands, and remove the lug nuts. Remove the tire and wheel, set it aside for later. Now take your penetrating oil and squirt down the bolts. Now take your appropriate sized socket and ratchet or the correct wrench and remove the nuts. If so equipped, remove the sway bar end link. Now, by hopping in the trunk, or in the other area, we need to get to the bolts at the top of the strut. This may be under a plastic cover. In this case, I just need to pull back the carpet and put a wrench on the bolts. And I like to do this before I take out the bottom, at least get these loosened, and then the strut will come out much easier. Now here's where that optional jack comes in handy. It's not required, but it'll help out a little bit later upon installation. I like to just jack up the suspension just a little bit, just to take the tension off of those bolts. Now here's the part where things get fun. And this is why an MFH versus a BFH really comes in handy, because there's not a lot of room to swing in here. What you're going to do is put the nut back on the bolt, a couple of threads, and then use your socket or something to drive on the bolt, because these are knurled in here, so this doesn't turn. And you just drive each bolt out. It takes a couple whacks and some effort, so be persistent. Okay, after taking out the bolts up top, you can lower your jack a little. And it just takes a little bit of wrestling to get it out of there. And that's where pry bars sometimes help to get out. Just wrestle, there it goes. And I took out the inner fender well, which helps with access, but it's not necessary. Now, putting the new strut in is just the reverse of taking it out. You're going to line these bolts up, put it in here, and that's where the second jack is going to come in a little handy if you don't have second person, because you're going to have to fish it up in here and then push it up in there, put your nuts on temporarily, and then line everything up. Doing this with the jack, putting it on here and then guiding it in and then jacking it up slowly is what the jack can help you with. And it also helps you from stretching this brake line at full droop. It takes a little bit of stress off that. Alright, now we got the strut in, got our bolts in. You can hammer them in a little ways. Just line up the knurling, hammer them in, and then you can start tightening the nuts up. Don't forget to reinstall your sway bar end link. And tighten up the nuts in the trunk to the proper torque, and you're done.